The People Before Politics radio show every Sunday, 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com. Facebook should be kicking in anytime. Yes, all the mics are on. Okay. Facebook should be kicking in any moment.
It's on.
Okay, it is on.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, just for everybody just now joining us on Facebook, you are tuned in to Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show every Sunday 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com. Yeah, I'm blending into this red wall.
I'd see that. I was going to say, I see your head.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of you?
I'm blending into the red wall. Like, yo, word up. It ain't got the People Before Politics thing behind me. I am joined by my co-host, the lovely Latina Lorraine Lopez,
the triple threat,
LLL, Gia, and Dr. Robert Baskerville, a.k.a. Brooklyn Bob, in the place to be. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay, Lorraine, what's up, y'all?
What's good? Shout out to everybody on Facebook. Trying to find the right remote. Got like 5 different. Yeah, it's on my page.
Okay.
D. Wilson said, good evening, Dr. Bob, Lorraine, and A.J. Woodson. Atif Khalil said, hello, family.
Hello, folks.
Yes.
What's up, everybody?
Thank you, Atif, for sharing it on all the other pages.
D.
In the absence of Damon K. Jones, who's on a little sabbatical, just chilling, you know what I mean? Just chilling, relaxing a little bit. You know what I mean?
Working hard behind the scenes.
Yeah, working hard behind the scenes, making some things happen. D said, Dr. Bob. Oh, okay. Oh, because she spelled it wrong the first time.
Oh,
there
okay.
you go. Dr. Bob. Yes.
Attention.
Yes, D.
Because the first time I said, good evening, D. Bob. Yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah, so I'm blending into this red background beautifully.
Looks good.
That's right. Chilling. Today we're going to have, as our guest later on, Lorraine, our guest will be...
Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob in the house.
Dr. Bob in the house, yes.
Yeah.
No, our guest will be...
Omar Herrera, who is a trustee from Ossining, and he is running for Ossining mayor.
There you go. Next week we will have... Do you remember her name? Running for Attorney General...
Alessandra Biaggi.
No. Attorney General. I got to look up her name.
I don't know.
We have a New York State Attorney General candidate on next week. And then on September 9th, the week before the primary, we will have State Senator Andrea Stewart Cousins in the place to be. And we will have, say her name, Biaggi, say her first
Alessandra
name.
Biaggi.
Yep, there you go. Who's running up against Senator Klein. And they will be our guests. Charles Stern. Hey, what's up, Charles Stern?
Charles, what's happening?
So we just chilling for a minute right now. Taking it easy. I'm working on the September issue as we speak. You have another 48 hours if you're interested in advertising. Need to get your artwork and stuff in. The paper will hit streets Friday on the 31st. We will be blasting it, getting it out all over the weekend. So anybody who's still interested in advertising and has hit me up, it's too late to advertise. You still have till Tuesday, end of day. So at the end of business Tuesday, it's a wrap, baby. Thank you for all those who have advertised. Charles Stern said, hey, gents and ladies. Uncle Frank's in the house. I didn't see his name yet. I guess Frank just tuned in. What's up, Frank? Switching screens real quick. There we go. So, Bob, what have you been up to, my brother?
Well, I just finished up my shortened summer vacation. Because y'all know I just finished teaching for the summer. And the vacation's over, and I've been getting myself ready for the start of the new semester, which begins tomorrow.
Oh, wow. So you go to teach tomorrow? You're teaching?
Yeah. I'm back in class tomorrow. well prepared, sufficiently rested. And other than that, of course, we just came off of the big, the fair-sized, I should say, rally at City Hall on Wednesday. So
I think there was about 70, 75-ish people. So,
right.
I mean,
that's a good.
that was
that's
a
good
decent
number.
amount of people, of residents from sampling of all over Mount Vernon. It wasn't just the South Side. Had Tom Keller, the Republican, Mount Vernon Republican chairman. He was present. Had members and the head, John D., the head of the Fleetwood Citizen Society. Had several other people. Caitlin Gleason spoke. Jeff Monroe closed it out very well. Shout out to Jeff Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Bob gave a rousing. He did his thing.
Shout out to Dr. Bob.
Shout out Dr. Bob.
Damon did the Russell Simmons. Good night. God bless. He thanked everybody. I mean, it was a class act. He brought up Keller for Keller Tennis, and he's like, yo, we would like to thank all of those who supported our families, and that was it. And that was
right.
It was beautiful. Who else spoke?
Shout out to Atif.
Said Bob was shy at first. That's what Atif said.
Well, yeah, I was trying to beg off.
No, actually, yo, David was like, if Bob don't stand still, David was trying to go live. Bob was walking all through the crowd, like walking back and forth.
Yeah.
David was like, yo, if Bob don't stand still. But I was like, that was good that he moved. But Atif said it was a good turnout. I agree. Who else spoke? We had Janelle O'Britton. She spoke a little bit. Nas Duncan. As always, she spoke about her still searching for justice for the unsolved homicide of her son, and shared how she is, physically and mentally, and and that nobody has called her, and she still has not gotten answers. And then we heard, and we got a shout out to Donna Nolan, whose son was killed. Was a baseball player killed.
She was there.
In Yonkers, no, but she called afterwards.
The young
and she contacted me because she wanted to reach out. She was very moved by Nas's words, and she wanted Nas to know that Nas is not alone, and she knows the feeling. And she wanted to let her know that she supports her. And I bring her up because the 3rd anniversary of her son being killed is September 13th. So it is coming up. We're going to do a small little, brief write-up on that, about the anniversary of him being killed. So, and she's going to give me some words and post a picture or something to use. So that'll be in the September issue. Covering a lot of good things, got a lot of powerful pieces in the September issue so far. Everybody's chipping in. Tasha Young and Cynthia Turnquest Jones are both doing stories on the Cupcake Cutie situation where the city tried to shut them down. They have the dominant piece of the cover on the cover. There's also a tribute to Aretha Franklin.
Are you gonna do a tribute to John McCain?
I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about how to handle that. I do have quotes so far from County Executive Latimer and Congressman Engel. So if any other elected officials give me comments, I was about to do something like local officials remember John McCain, and then write with their quotes. So I was looking to see if I got at least one or two more. Over the next couple of days, or I got to figure out how I'm going to handle that. I'm going to mention it, but I haven't figured out how I'm going to handle it yet.
Well, I figured out what kind of Republican I am. Instead of being a Trump Republican, which I'm not, I'm a McCain Republican from now on. Now that he's passed, I can say that.
Oh, okay.
There you go. So I'm a McCain Republican.
My condolences to the McCain family. I know they're not listening, but my condolences to the McCain family. And I really appreciate, before he passed, he said, under no uncertain terms does he want President Trump at his funeral or to speak. He said Mike Pence can speak, and he said he does want President Obama to speak.
President Obama and George Bush are going to speak.
And I thought that was great. Like, I thought, like, and that's kind of a smack in the face. I mean, the Republican wants your Democratic predecessor to speak and doesn't even want you present.
The two people that he ran against for president are the two folks that
are going to
he
speak.
lost against, are the two folks that are going to speak.
Yeah. So,
that tells you a lot about his character.
Klein commented about McCain on Twitter. It's probably
and so
the
did Mayor
same.
Spano.
It's probably I have to get Spano's. I have to pick his off of Twitter. But both Engel and Klein sent me their both not Klein. Both Engel and Latimer sent me their quotes. So I definitely will be including them. And if you said Mike Spano on Twitter or Facebook, I will find that. Then that's probably what I'm going to do is just something like local officials remember
react.
John McCain or react to the death of John and then post each what they all say and then just a little small brief, and that'll probably be it for this. There's not a lot of space left, but I will mention it though definitely. What do you do when the Mount Vernon Police Department puts charges on you and disregards your alibi?
You call an attorney?
That is a good question. One answer would be contact the Westchester County District Attorney's Office. Secondly would be there is in place, the City Council did vote for a CCRB, which is a Civilian Complaint Review Board, which is a group of people outside of the police department that are empowered to investigate the police and actually have some subpoena power. And I think the only thing left to do is to actually fill the positions. So one, I would call your city councilman and find out when they are going to fill those positions. Go ahead, Bob. I think Bob wanted to chip in.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that the viewer actually come to the city council meeting, tell them that they're interested in filing a complaint, but have been unable to do so thus far because the CCRB is largely defunct still, and that may actually spur the city council to take the next steps to get it up and fully operational. Because doing it in public, of course, is going to
absolutely
put some extra pressure on them.
And actually, you want to show up at the next city council meeting, which is September Day, back to regulars. Is the second and fourth Wednesday of the month. So the second Wednesday, the second Sunday is the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. So the second Wednesday is probably the 12th. You want to show
that would
up
be
at,
correct, AJ.
You want to show up at, I know Sundays, so the Sunday dates for the show. The former Mount Vernon police officer Don Starchild Moore said depending on the circumstances, the DA will ascertain if the charges are worth proceeding with. And that's coming from a former Mount Vernon police officer. So that's what he's suggesting. And Tawanda, I think that's your name. The city council is September 12th, Wednesday, September 12th. The meeting is at 7:00. It's on the second floor in the the city council chambers. Do me a favor, email me at blackwestchester@gmail.com. I will get you all the information, the number to the clerk's office, when you have to call so you can speak. And I will break down all of that in the email, blackwestchester@gmail.com. Also, send me whatever information you have on the situation that you're talking about, and let me look at it too and see, if I can look into it as well. D. Wilson said Don Starchild Moore is right. You're welcome, Tawanda. That's what we're here for. Atif said, hold on, I got to switch screens. Atif said, I heard the motion to vote on funding the review board was tabled because of okay, so no.
Isn't that volunteer?
they're a volunteer. It is a volunteer position. There is not paid positions. The mayor has put out that the city council will not fund it, and that's why it's not there. That is not true. I think a certain amount of money was put up. He's saying it needs way more. It's volunteer positions. The positions have to be filled. The council have to assign, fill the positions. I guess anybody who's interested in being on something like that needs to contact the council. I don't know what the criteria is to be on it, but they will be the people that will be selecting the members, the city council.
And it will force the city council to go on record as to where we're at in the process of starting the CCRB, if there are additional resources that are needed, what's the cause of the holdup, and in that respect, it could only be a good thing because it perhaps push the process along a little bit.
Shout to Patricia DeLuca, my former editor at King Magazine, for Harris Publishing, which Harris Publishing also puts out XXL, King Magazine, and a few other publications. And shout to Daytwan, he was the publisher, and he was the head dude, and Patricia, I guess, was like the number 2, who used to assign my stories. So and edit me. I'm an editor's nightmare. So, but anyway, shout to her. She is tuned in. Who else is tuned in? Hold on.
And a very happy birthday to my granddaughter, Mackenzie.
Absolutely.
Being that you didn't ask me what I've been doing this week, I might as well throw that in there.
We got plenty of time for the open, and I'm getting to you.
No, you wasn't. You wasn't going to get to me, AJ. We both know that.
Okay. The Future Society is tuned in. Wilfred Dennis, who's also at the rally, is tuned in. Shout to him. Another individual who, one of the Mount Vernon families for justice, that is still looking for justice for the homicide of his unsolved homicide of his brother, and they're fighting to keep those names alive and make sure that they're not forgotten. And there's several others. Shout to Janelle. Shout to I got everybody else. I think anybody else you see. Uncle Frank, of course. Anybody else's comments I didn't get to? Yes, I will. Thank you very much. No problem, Twanda. Okay, I'm leaving that one alone. Uncle Don Starchild, what's up? Oh, that's the thief talking to Don. So, Lorraine Lopez.
Here you go.
What have
I'm done.
been up to?
I'm done.
Now you got to tell. Hold on. Let me do it. Let me do it.
I was at my granddaughter's.
Lorraine Lopez.
Yes,
what
sir.
have you been up to this past week?
Celebrating my granddaughter's 2nd birthday.
Oh, okay. And that's your granddaughter.
Mackenzie.
It goes a little. There we go. Mackenzie. Happy birthday to Mackenzie.
Thank you,
Okay. Anything else?
Morning, Senator John McCain's death.
And mourning Senator McCain's death.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you're going to play with those buttons all night, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I do want to say this with respect to Senator McCain's death, that many who are, like myself, from a more leftist tradition that has as one of its key principles anti-militarism, as opposed to American expansionist foreign policy abroad, may wonder why we ought to pay respects to Senator McCain, since many of the policies that he advocated may have been in opposition to principles that those on the left hold near and dear. And while I am very sympathetic to that position and have been very staunch in my opposition to a lot of the wars that Senator McCain may have had a influential voice in persuading us to enter into, some of our Middle East actions amongst them, I do want to say that I really think the senator distinguished himself during the last presidential election when he ran against then Senator Barack Obama, and he refused to affirm the race-baiting comments.
Yes, they showed that. They showed that.
And that was, that's a moment. Let's be real about what's going on.
But that's the only thing that you would say, that because he didn't go against Barack Obama?
Lorraine, that's
Lorraine.
Lorraine, that's not what I said, though. I didn't say he
I'm asking you.
So I just told you that was one noteworthy thing that I think we all need to commend him for. And
Absolutely.
It's not because
and
he wasn't.
He needs to be commended to a million other things.
Okay,
I believe. But
Lorraine, can I finish commending him for the thing that I want to commend him for?
Yes, go ahead.
And then you can commend him.
Go ahead.
I didn't say it was the only thing. I said for people who are on the left, who may be very skeptical of in any way giving honor to a mainstream politician who supports America's expansionist foreign policy. And McCain can be criticized on those grounds. But my point is that there are a lot of redeeming qualities that political leaders who we disagree with have. And I think that the particular incident that I just cited is amongst one of the most important kind of public stances that he took. And that is he refused the tendency in the Republican Party to try to stimulate voter turnout by making racist appeals to voters. And he was on national television and had to take a principled stance, knowing full well that there were a number of voters who would not likely support his candidacy because he refused.
There were many in his party that were not pleased with that, and that didn't matter to him.
And he was a class act.
Absolutely.
All the way around. Just saying.
I'm not saying that he wasn't, but I think that that's very important because one of the most serious dangers that the nation faces today is
division.
Yes, is race-based divisions that really do, go deep into the heart of American history. And I think we have to be very, very careful and very skeptical of any politician who would seek to gain office by stirring up those racial resentments, which is exactly what President Trump has done.
And Ingalls spoke highly of him on the work that they did in Congress together, in the Senate together. He spoke highly of their history together, and he, the issues that they worked on together. So it's good to see, because he was not afraid to reach across the aisle and vote against his party if he didn't agree, which he's done once or twice. That didn't make people too happy. But he didn't care about making people happy. He did what was best for his constituents, and he kept his belief, unlike a lot of politicians right now that just vote with their party and go and they toe the line, even though they don't agree with the situation.
Do or say whatever is necessary to get them into office.
Right.
Let's not forget he was a war hero.
No, those are all legitimate accomplishments.
I'm just saying. Can I say that, Dr. Bob, that he was a war
hero? No, you can,
hero?
but in saying let's not forget, I'm just saying I didn't forget.
Oh, okay.
That's all I'm saying. You're free to say whatever you want, Lorraine. You're going to say it.
Yeah, you damn straight I am. He was a war hero. He was captured. He did 5 years. He refused to leave when they were going to let him leave because of his father's stance, because his father was an admiral. And he refused to leave. He did not want to leave his people behind, and he didn't leave his people behind. And when he came back, he led a life of service to his country. And
Donald Trump totally dishonored him.
Oh, of course.
By his comments that, he's not really a war hero. He got captured. I like my war heroes. They get something that didn't get captured. Something stupid like that, which totally disrespected what he went through. You know what I'm saying? And his service for somebody who did not serve in the military, who went out of their way to get out of the fighting in the military, to disrespect anybody who fought for this country, and who was captured and survived all that and didn't you know, a lot of people get captured,
He
they
didn't
get
break.
turned, they get broken, they give up all kinds of information. He never broke. He never sold his country out. He was a class act. Like Bob was saying, I didn't agree with all of his positions and stuff, but that's cool. I don't believe, and I don't agree with some of these Democrats' positions either. So, you know, but I mean, so it's not a party thing, but I respect his integrity, and I expect that he stood for what he stood for, and he stood up for what he stood for, what he believed in. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And that's all you can. I mean, we the three of us have different views on certain things, but we all stand up for what we believe in. You understand what I'm saying? So people that stand up for what they believe in, even if I don't believe in what you believe in, I still respect that though.
Thank you.
If you you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not talking about Donald Trump just saying all kinds of crazy
because if not, I
stuff.
won't say anything else about a Republican. God forbid I'm not allowed.
What? Nobody
But
said
I don't
you-
understand
I'm
why
just saying.
Lorraine,
I'm just saying. I didn't say you said anything, Dr. Bob. I'm just saying that if I, as a Republican, feel in any way that I am not allowed to speak my viewpoint, I wouldn't speak it. But I do speak it. I didn't say that. I said if that was the case, then I wouldn't speak it.
Janelle O'Brien said we must not let anyone divide us for any reasons, ancestry, economics, ideology, religion. We are strongest when we stand together.
And Latif wants to change the subject. He said, "Where's Pugsy P?"
Yeah, I saw that, and I didn't read that on purpose. Pugsy P is chilling for a while. That's all.
He's taking a nap.
He's relaxing for a while. He put out a whole lot of videos back to back. Now he's chilling for a while. He didn't go away. He will still be there. Yeah, so you got it. He said I got it. The other thing this week was a horrible week for Agent Orange. The 45th president.
I'm
Yeah,
like Agent Orange.
and I can't take credit for that. Spike Lee, I heard Spike Lee said it, and he credited to Busta Rhymes. That's where he got it from. So I got to credit them. I didn't make that up. But I like the name Agent Orange. It's stuck. It's just stick. So this week he saw two people very close to him. One pled guilty to 8 counts, and one was found guilty by a jury of 8 counts and was 1 vote away from being found guilty of 18 counts.
Yes.
There was one holdout that was 11-1 on the other 10 charges. So he was 1 vote away from being convicted of 18 charges. Then you had Cohen, who pled guilty to 8 charges. The first one being Manafort, I didn't say his name. Then you had a couple other people.
Two people got what's that word?
Oh, I'm getting to them.
Okay.
Immunity.
Yeah.
Immunity.
You got a couple other people, and they showed the list. There's about 5 people so far who have been found guilty. Then you got the immunity. You know, in every situation, when they can't bring people down in a lot of ways, they go to find the accountant. When they couldn't get Al Capone on anything, of all the things, the crimes he committed, they could never make anything stick. The one thing he went to jail for was when they went after his finances and his tax evasion and information from the accountant. The accountant is one of the most important people in a situation like that. Not only was this person Donald Trump, the Trump organization, and the Donald J. Trump Foundation accountant, he was the accountant of Donald's father. He knows more about Donald Trump's money than all of his wives collectively, than all of his kids collectively. This is the man that knows where every dollar was spent, where every check was written. He knows everything. The one thing that people can't get is his income tax. This is the guy who did the income tax. The income tax, they did all the things. And the beautiful thing about it, this is all being done in the state of New York as a state thing. And Donald Trump can't pardon him or anybody involved in the situation. You can't federally pardon somebody from state charges. So he can't even pardon anybody. And all the people, I just wanted to say this because one of the main questions that I get is, why hasn't Barbara Underwood and the New York State Attorney General, why are they not more active in Malvern and Mayor Thomas's investigation? Barbara Underwood has been the key to all of this. She's the one that flipped Cohen's partner. She's the one that flipped the other person to get to the charges on Cohen. The charges when Cohen pled guilty that implicated the president. She is the one going after, she's the one that flipped over the accountant. And she's going after all his New York State, his business, and his children. She is the one, she's been very active. And I compliment her on it because she's been just putting everything in place, one step after one after another, just lining all the ducks in a row and just shooting them down one at a time. So she has been very busy, and she is the key to a lot of this. And she is, of course, turning over what she finds to Mueller and to the FBI and to the IRS and to everybody else involved. She's sharing all the information that she's getting. And something will come out of this, especially the accountant. Now, if the accountant wasn't bad enough, then there's the brother, the dude for the National Enquirer. AMI. That shelved a lot of stories for to make sure they didn't come out about Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. And that approached them in 2015 that he will grab up any stories that can damage him from becoming president, and he will buy them and he will shelf them. And he has this all stored in a vault somewhere. All these secrets. Well, he just received immunity as well. So something's
did he receive immunity for the Cohen case, or did he refuse full immunity? That's the question that folks were asking.
Wait, who? The guy from the National Enquirer?
No, the other one.
The accountant?
Weisselkoff.
Him.
Weisselberger-Koff.
He received immunity. And that's the way, and Rachel Maddow was explaining that too. David Pecker, yes, John Stern, yes, Charles Stern. David Pecker is the guy from the National Enquirer. You never get a big fish to eat little fish. You get the big fish to get the bigger fish. You understand what I'm saying? And the only two people, he was the CFO of the Donald Trump organization, the Trump organization, and the Donald J. Trump Foundation. Mm-hmm. When Donald Trump turned everything over to his two sons, it was his two sons and this guy. He got immunity. The only two people that you can go up and get is the two sons. So he knows everything.
The two unnamed executives who are thought to be
right. Executive 1 and Executive 2.
Yeah.
Which one has been proven to be one of the sons. Mm-hmm. When they, there is a lot that you can't indict a president and all of this, and indicting him, they're going after the kids, and when they go when the Donald J Foundation thing, it names 4 of the children and the foundation. You understand what I'm saying? There's a civil case. They have a civil case against them, and then the accountant works with the two sons. So if you get in the accountant, you're going after the two sons. So yeah, you can't indict Donald Trump, but his sons are indictable.
So what do you think is going to happen as far as Trump is concerned? Because he can't get indicted. They're not going to impeach him. Well,
see, but they're working on the one thing. Well, let me finish. Let me say, I'm going to let Bob get a piece of this too. One of the things I noticed, because they've been showing, you got to look at history. They've been showing the Nixon situation. And Nixon was worried about getting indicted after office. So he made the deal to be pardoned as he stepped down. This is state. Donald Trump can't be pardoned for crimes outside, and unless they actually save the Republicans control the House, and they go into this, and they still are running things going into 2020, Donald Trump will not be reelected. And all of these things have a 5 to 6. The statute of limitations are still in effect after he gets out of office. Mm-hmm. So you can indict him after he gets out of office. So, and he can't be pardoned for this stuff because it's not federal. Then he can only get federal. The only party he can do state pardons, I think, is a governor. And the Governor Cuomo is not pardoning Trump or his kids, because Trump's going after Governor Cuomo, and Cuomo, I think, has presidential aspirations too. So there's no way that Cuomo is pardoning Trump and the kids. So all of this can happen afterwards. But if you put enough dirt and enough stuff comes out, the hope is, and it's only a hope, that there will be some Republicans that'll be like, oh man, you know, after a while, pressure will be on some of them, because I think you only need 16 of them or something like that to be able to impeach him. If all the Democrats plus 16 Republicans.
Okay, so what's the difference between impeaching him and didn't Clinton? Okay, now explain to me. Didn't Clinton get impeached or not? Ooh.
Yeah. So the process of removing a president is a two-stage process. On the one hand, the House of Representatives hears charges that for which they may be, that they have to make a decision as to whether those are impeachable offenses or not. And then if they do, then they pass it on to the Senate, and then the Senate makes the final determination as to whether or not the president is to be removed from office.
It is 2 votes, because they showed with the Clinton thing.
So you can be impeached. To be impeached is to actually have to answer before a trial that's held by the U.S. House of Congress, reviewing allegations that the president committed high crimes or misdemeanors. Depending on the House's finding determination, then it will either go to the Senate or not. If the House says like that, the House did not find that President Clinton's find him guilty, and so that he was never removed from office.
And also when I was looking at what made me look at this was MSNBC has been showing Republicans like Lindsey Graham and a couple of other ones what they're saying now in defense of Trump and about impeachment, and what they said when it was about impeaching Clinton, and how much they've changed in these 19 years. Like, it was all about protecting the office and the integrity of the office and all of these things that came out of their mouths. And when I was looking more into that, because I was going to do a story about the now and then, it showed the vote, and the vote was 2 votes. The vote for impeachment and vote for removal of office. It was actually 2 votes, and it showed all the guilties, all the ones that voted for the impeachment, but not all of them voted for removal of office. So I believe now, from that, I believe there's actual 2 votes. You know what I'm saying? It's not just 1 vote, it's 2 votes. So you vote to impeach, and then you vote whether he should be removed from office. Right. And Clinton wasn't voted for the removal, I guess, because the Democrats were able to rally behind him enough, and he didn't get removed from office. But he did get vote for impeachment, I believe. So I think that's the difference. Shout out to Omi Medina. Shout out to James Cook. Shout out to everybody. Denise Cardoza Branch. Jeff Ford. Brenda Crump. Shout out to the Mistress of Information, Brenda Crump, who has been away. That's your new title. You just don't know it. It's been in the last couple of papers, the Mistress of Information. But she's away handling some family business. So you haven't seen her, because everybody's been asking, where's Brenda? Is Brenda going to cover the rally? Is Brenda going to be at the rally? Is Brenda going to be in court? Is she going to cover that? Everybody wanted to know. So, no, Brenda is out of town handling, tending to some family members, and we wish her well with that. And we miss her. We miss her presence. Your presence has been thoroughly missed, because people have been asking, are you going to be here, and are you going to be there, and where is Brenda? So just so you know, You have been missed. You are missed. Our love is with you and support with, and you dealing with your family and all that. And take care of that. And, we got work to do when you get back, though. You know what I'm saying? So just to let you know, out of sight is not out of mind. Believe me, I'm getting calls to find out where is Brenda. Like, yo, is Brenda Brenda's going to speak at the rally? Is Brenda going to broadcast Facebook Live from the rally? Like, there was several calls just for that, to find that out. So, and Atif said, Brenda, we miss you. Yes, we all miss you. I concur. Anybody else that I didn't shout out? Marvin Church. Shout out to Marvin Church. He's on the tune in. Check in. Go ahead, Bob. There.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the Manafort trial and what I think is one of the most important outcomes of the trial. And as all of the audience members, all our viewers probably know that after the trial, revelations were appeared in the news media telling us the breakdown of the vote. And specifically that there was an 8-1 the jury was hung 8-1 on the 10 remaining counts. And what I thought was important is that there were several jurors.
11-1.
Okay, was it 11-1?
It was 11-1.
Okay, forgive me, 11-1.
Yeah.
There were several jurors who appeared on various news stations afterwards to discuss how the jury reached its verdict. And what I thought was very heartening was the most prominent of those jurors was a Republican Trump supporter.
Die-hard Trump supporter who had a red make this country great again hat, whatever that whatever
Make
that
America
saying
great
is.
again.
Make
Right.
America great. She had the hat in her car. She said she did not bring it in the courthouse. She said she's a diehard Trump fan. She said she believed this a witch hunt and all of that. But she said when she heard the evidence, she believes that he is guilty.
She said she wanted Paul
18,
Manafort to be innocent.
And she wanted him to be innocent. But when she heard the evidence, she believes that he is guilty of all 18 charges. And she's the one that said that it was one person that held out on the other 10 that he didn't get convicted of. And so he was one vote away from being convicted on all 18 charges. But she said she really wanted him to be innocent. She really believes that this was a witch hunt coming from Trump. She's a diehard. She said she would vote for Trump again in 2020. She's a diehard Trump person, but she said the evidence, she really believes that he was guilty, and that's why she voted. So even a diehard Trump fan. Oh, shout to Sydney. Used to be the A&R at Atlantic Records, I believe. Shout out to him. Stan Ridley, Christopher Ridley's father, on the check-in, and Tara Lattimore Wilson. Welcome to the show. Denise said Clinton. Yes, Clinton got impeached because he lied to Congress over the Monica Lewinsky Sex Act. And that's what it was. It was the lie, the reason that, because he came to Congress and they asked him, and he lied. And that's why he was impeached, for the lie. You know what I'm saying? Because if he had come to them and told them the truth, and, well, I mean, there'd been some people, but you can't lie to Congress, even if you're the president. You cannot lie to Congress.
And Congress, it's a Republican-controlled Congress, right? So they'll never ask Trump to come in and lie to them.
Well,
right?
This is the importance of the midterm election. It's for control of the House. I want to say a couple of things about that too. What I don't want to see, whatever happens, what I don't want to see, Democrats have a chance to take it over, but they can't be like Hillary Clinton, acting like it's a foregone conclusion that they won. They're going to have to work hard to get these seats. You know what I'm saying? They can't just assume just because people mad at Trump. because everybody's talking about the blue wave. They're going to take over the house.
That's not
necessarily.
Happen. I don't think
that's
so.
not necessarily. And you got people like Steve Bannon back in the mix of things, working hard so the Republicans can keep control and win those seats. So the Democrats will have to earn those seats. They are not just going to get them. And what I do believe I noticed, the Democrats realize if they made it all about impeachment, the election, they would turn a lot of people off. I've watched not too many of the Democrats have even been bringing up the word impeachment. The only people that have been on TV talking about impeachment have been the Republicans, talking about they don't think he should be impeached. Oh, and I also want to say, never in my lifetime have I heard the words from a sitting president, if I get impeached. I have never heard those words, even from the two who got impeached. I never heard those words.
Yeah, he said the stock market will crash.
But stopping there, if no sitting president that I know, and if I'm wrong and somebody's a history buff and can point out one, please tell me. No president in my lifetime, and I don't know if ever, has
your
ever
lifetime
said the
is extended to 73, but yeah.
Huh?
It extends to the Nixon administration, but
well,
that's okay. I don't know if Nixon said that.
No, Nixon didn't say it. Nixon didn't say it, and Clinton didn't say it. The two who got impeached didn't say the words, if I get impeached, if I would get impeached, if I should get impeached. Those words have never came from a sitting president before. That's crazy. Like, what president says that? But then, yeah, the fact that the stock market, because of what's up here, if he get impeached, the stock market and everybody's going to be poor and everything. No. What's going to happen is some of his rich friends may not be able to still have all the things that he's putting in place for them. Maybe that. But the stock markets won't crash, and the country will survive without Trump. After post-Trump, this country will survive. There'll be some repair need, but this country will survive. We're not going to crumble because Trump got impeached. Shout out to Anthony Old School Mitchell. What's good, people before politics? And Stanley said, "What's up, AJ? What's up, Stanley? I need you, Stan. When you get a chance, I need to know. I want to update on what's going on with the monument. What you decided. I understand that the county legislature voted for the permanent monument, but then they had to talk to the family to see what y'all wanted in place, and I wanted to know how that's going. Is it going to be a statue erected, or did y'all agree on what y'all want, and when is that going to take place? So if you can update me either in the comment section here or hit me offline after the show. I just want to update so I can include that. And for all those, once again, I can't say enough. Christopher Ridley was a hero. You just got to keep the name alive. He was a hero because he did not have to get out of his car, and he would still be alive today if he didn't get out of his car to help somebody that was in need in a city that wasn't his city, and he was off duty.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a hero in my book. So I'm gonna keep saying that. I'm gonna keep the name alive. Yeah. What else happened? Oh, so what else? So yeah, this was a horrible week for Trump. That's where I was at before. This is probably, you know what? And I'd have to really look, and according to some of the people on MSNBC, because they had some people that were involved in, covering news again when Nixon was. What happened last week was probably worse than any week that Nixon has ever had. They were saying, and
I mean, we even found out he had an illegitimate daughter.
Who?
Trump.
Oh,
30-year-old.
Oh, okay. I didn't even keep
from the housekeeper.
Okay, I didn't know about that.
Right. So the AMI.
Oh, that was one
the
of
National
the
Enquirer. Right. Somehow, once they released the story, they broke the confidentiality agreement, and the doorman was now free to share with the public that he had.
I did hear about the doorman. I did hear that.
About Trump having an illegitimate child. This was a terrible week.
Which is not a crime, but it still doesn't. It just goes to. It's about its character.
This is the candidate who ran on draining the swamp. the swamp is not drained.
Donald Trump is the swamp thing,
right? And one announcer or commentator on MSNBC, and I forget which one, said, for such a witch hunt, it caught a whole lot of witches. Because this is supposed to be a witch hunt. A whole lot of witches got caught for this witch hunt. A whole lot of witches. So I'm like, yo, this is we are actually, people don't understand, we are actually watching history in the making. This is definitely, regardless of this will definitely be at the very least a Netflix biopic about what's going on right now. Maybe a movie of the week, maybe a semi or a mini series or something. This is definitely history in the making that we're watching right now.
It is history in the making, but I want to take exception to your view that should Donald Trump be impeached and removed from office.
Say that again? Should
Donald Trump be impeached and removed from office, while the nation will eventually, well, I will say, I cannot say it's a foregone conclusion that the nation will, in fact, recover. This has been an extremely divisive issue, and it's further compounded by the fact that Donald Trump, that there's a broader background of polarization across the nation, which has been building for several decades, but really has reached its head, I think, because of a lot of the economic problems that we are confronting. Wages have been stagnant since the 1970s, and inequality continues to ratchet up. And under the circumstances, both parties, I'll say all sides, Republicans, Democrats, and independents, believe that they have an uncompromising stake in the future of the Trump administration. For non-Republicans, and I'll say non-Republicans, and maybe even for some Republicans, feel that the Donald Trump's behavior is so extreme and is so at odds with our democratic norms that he must be removed, not even considering all of the underlying charges of corruption that he appears to be guilty of. But I am persuaded by available evidence that there's a good possibility that the high-placed officials in the Trump campaign, if not the candidate himself, did in fact collude with Russians. Under the circumstances, I think Donald Trump is a national security threat. And if we are to maintain the sanctity of our democracy, he must be removed. There's no room for compromise as far as I'm concerned in that regard. But I also think, should he be removed? Should he be impeached? And should he be removed? I think it will open the way for civil strife, including real armed violence. I think various white nationalist figures and formations that Donald Trump has appealed to in order to reach the presidency will be absolutely anguished and deeply embittered. And I do not think that they're going to sit on their hands idly. I think they will try to enact some sort of revenge through violence. So I think that the stakes are very, very high. We do not want to underestimate what's getting ready to happen. And my feeling is we'll be lucky. The nation will have to make a concerted effort both to get along as people across the partisan divide, on the one hand, to try to give each other some degree of faith that we are operating in good faith with one another. And that's why I mentioned the results of the jury trial, because it suggests that both Democrats, Republicans, and independents, for that matter, are able to look at the same set of available evidence and reach a common conclusion, and therefore encourages trust. So one thing we need to do if we're going to weather this storm is that we need to make a concerted effort to really cultivate trust with those who might ordinarily be considered our political opponents. If Republicans, if independents feel that somehow or the other an impeachment and a subsequent trial at Senate to remove the president has been rigged and is not based on valid, sound evidence, but instead has been engineered, they will reject the results and it will cause further strife. So that's number one. We need to work together. And number two, I think what it also calls for, a blue wave is no foregone conclusion. Rather, and Democrats can take nothing for granted. More importantly,
Absolutely.
what that means is that, and it's not simply in the hands of Democratic candidates, but also in the hands of American voters who have themselves had an opportunity to assess the performance of the Trump administration for the last 18, 19 months, and should make a decision as to whether or not they will participate in the election or sit on the sideline based upon their assessment of how much damage the president is doing to our institutions. And I have to say, you know, my lifetime and you know, any of the scholars I've studied, never have I read of a description of a presidency that I think has done more to imperil our democratic institutions at home and also an international rules-based order that makes UN Charter, human rights, you know, rights for migrants as they move across national borders. All of these things are now under threat. The sovereignty of other nations now under threat precisely because Trump seems to be lack a moral compass and any clear political philosophy that's rooted in our democratic tradition. So I think it's very, very serious. I'm a little bit more pessimistic about what the future holds myself.
Brenda, she I guess looked it up. She said officially President William J. Clinton was impeached by the House on charges of perjury and obstruction of justice in relations to his affair with White House intern Monica Lewinsky. Clinton was eventually acquitted by the Senate. Shout to Wayne Will and Black by Popular Demand. Damon K. Jones is tuned into the show.
DK!
Shout out to Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. Definitely. I can't say this enough, and I'm always going to keep saying it as long as I got a microphone. Shout to Kenneth Chamberlain, you know, who started out fighting for justice for the death of his father, but I have seen him jump in the arena and join anybody who is fighting for justice for their loved one, even while he's still mourning and he's still struggling to get justice for himself, and standing with other families who have lost members in police custody, like Raynette Turner's husband Herman, and you know, standing by. He's out for, he speaks out, and he helped form the Westchester Coalition for Police Reform. You know, people should very, and I can't make this clear enough, for what happened to his father, it would be very understandable for him to have an NWA after police attitude. You understand what I'm saying? Because of what happened to his father. And a lot of people would have had that kind, but he's working with the police. He's working on better police relationships with the community. He's working on better police reform. He is all over the place, and he still has not got justice. He's been denied justice for the death of his father at the hands of the White Plains Police. And then again, the injustice, you know, Janet DeFiore not following up on it, and all that he has been through, on all the levels that he's been through. But this brother keeps fighting. And I keep saying, yo, I would like to think, everybody would say what they would do in that situation. I would like to think that I could actually be that strong and continue doing what he's doing. I don't know if I could, if I was in that situation. So hats off to unsung heroes like Kenneth Chamberlain, who's not afraid to speak truth to power, who stand with anybody standing for justice. I think, we want to just give him a round of applause. It's something when you say something when people are in your face and you say it around them. I say this everywhere. That's how I feel. And when he calls, because anytime y'all call him, he is there. When he calls, everybody needs to stop doing what they're doing and join this brother in his fight. Because when anybody calls, he's there. And for y'all that don't show up, if something was to happen to you, he and Damon would be the ones that you would call. So y'all need to stand with the people that stand for you and stand for others. And that's just I just want to keep saying that. I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to yell it from the highest mountain. I'm going to keep that. We're going to keep Kenneth Chamberlain Sr.'s name alive, and that fight's not over. And the White Plains Police and the Westchester DA's office and everybody, y'all are not off the hook. I'm going to stand behind that brother and his justice and his search for justice for the death, for the summary execution of his father. That's it.
Amen.
So, Damon said, "What's up, y'all?" Stanley Ridley says, "Shout out to Kenneth Chamberlain, Damon Jones. Both have been in the corner of the family of Christopher Ridley, family from day one." And so many other families can say that. Day one. When Nas had that situation with her son, who she called that night? She called Damon K. Jones. And Damon went with her from trying to find her son and what hospital he was in, and was with her all night, and has been with her since day one. So shout to Damon too, who is not here, and he gets a lot of criticism for speaking out on a lot of things, but he is not afraid to speak truth to power. And any of y'all, when y'all call him and y'all got a situation of injustice, when y'all got a situation when your loved one was killed by a cop, when anything like that, when law enforcement officers are in trouble or having a certain situation, they call people like Damon K. Jones and everybody else who stands with him. And he doesn't get a lot of the credit. You say he got a big mouth. They see him on TV all the time. You have to give that brother a lot of credit, and I don't say that just because he's my partner, but again, I want to give him a round of applause because he doesn't get enough of that either. He's another hero, and we have a lot of heroes that stand up like that. Corey Pagese and we have a lot of heroes, but I just wanted to single out those two. That was it. Is our next guest here?
Yeah,
yes.
But I had a quick question.
Go ahead.
Because that Trump impeachment stuff really fascinated me. Can I just ask a quick question before we go on to the next? Okay. It's the president, the vice president, the speaker of the House, right? Am I correct, yes. Dr. Bob? I think there's a question more
yes,
for you.
Yes, in the order of succession.
Right? Speaker of the House is over
order
Secretary?
of succession.
Yes, it's the speaker.
Okay. Now, if the president gets removed, and the vice president takes over, who's the vice president?
They have to pick a vice president.
Who picks it?
He picks it, and it has to be approved, I think, right? It has to go
I must simply say I am uncertain. I do not believe that there would be a special election, though.
No, but I think he would select someone, but then they would have to be approved the same way they go through this whole thing for a Supreme Court justice or something. They'd have to be. He would have to go through Congress or whatever.
That sounds plausible. I just must say that I'm uncertain.
So Brenda.
But that
posted,
sounds right, Brenda. Lorraine.
Brenda posted this: impeachment offenses, Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution states, the president, the vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. To date, 2 federal judges have been impeached and removed from office based on charges of bribery. No other federal officials ever faced impeached on charges of treason. And other impeachment proceedings held against federal officers include 3 presidents. Who's the third? I know Clinton, Nixon, Andrew Johnson. Okay, right. Okay. 3 was that at 3 presidents have based on charges of high crimes and misdemeanors. According to the constitutional lawyers, high crimes and misdemeanors are 1, real criminality, breaking the law, 2, abuses of power, 3, violations of public trust as defined by Alexander Hamilton in the Federalist Papers. In 1870, then Representative Gerald R. Ford defined impeachment offenses as whatever a majority of the House of Representatives considers it to be at the given moment in history. Historically, Congress has issued articles of impeachment for acts of three general categories: exceeding the constitutional bounds of the powers of office, behavior grossly incompatible with the proper functions and purposes of the office, and enjoying the power of the office for improper purposes or for personal gain. Thank you, Brenda. I don't know if that helps explain it to anybody. And I would like our next guest to come in, our first guest to come in, our only guest, our guest of the day to come in. And I will let Lorraine introduce our guest. So I'm glad we actually had this time. A lot of people outside of Westchester listen to this show. And they say sometimes, of course, we're dealing with a lot of local issues. And they, can't always follow. But we haven't had a chance to spend this much time on what's going on in the nation. And, I want to revisit this like after the primary and stuff. And it's important.
As it continues.
As it continues, yes.
And the review of the impeachment process and the grounds for impeachment are instructive as we consider how to deal with problems in our own
locally. Yes, right. Yeah, no, actually, yes, yes.
Because essentially self-enrichment, violations of the public trust, and exceeding one's duly authorized authority.
Well, yes,
all grounds for impeachment at the federal level. And
can you impeach in the local level?
Well, we can't do it here, but we could. There have been calls, and I have made one of those for the mayor to be removed by the governor in accordance with our city charter for a period of up to
90 days. I believe it is. Yeah.
Because his performance, in my judgment, has been so atrocious and so at odds with the expectations that we have. So, I think it's been helpful, actually.
Right.
So we try to cover. So we finally dealing with some national issues.
Why am I coming here on an impeachment?
But all politics is local, and we are Black Westchester, and we try to cover the county. A lot of what we've covered has been Mount Vernon, Yonkers, sometimes New Rochelle, sometimes Peekskill, White Plains, and Greenburgh. Very rarely do we get a chance to go further up. Although we've had Ossining, Bo's Basement, Quintel Bazemore. Yes, he's been here twice when he was running. But we don't get enough to hear about what's going on in Ossining, and also in celebration of the upcoming Hispanic Heritage Month, which is September 15th to October 15th. And in the September issue, Lorraine's Latino Empowerment page will be 4 pages and will be covering. And one of the spotlights will be the gentleman who just entered the room, and I will let Lorraine introduce him.
Okay, so let's welcome Omar Herrera, who's running for Ossining mayor. He's a Democrat, but he also got endorsed. He got endorsed by the Working Families Party. And I believe you are an Ossining trustee, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, let me give him an official People Before Politics round of applause. So, go ahead. Go ahead.
And just so we're clear, in Ossining, trustees essentially are equivalent to the city council. Yeah, just so we're clear.
So now, do you have? Because it's what Ossining is a village or is a town?
It's a village.
Mm-hmm. So do you have a? I know like Greenburgh has a town supervisor, not a mayor. Is it a mayor in Ossining? Is it?
So how Ossining is broken up, we have the town of Ossining and the village of Ossining is within the town.
Right.
Okay.
Two separate entities. So the town has a town supervisor, which is full-time, paid, and a town council. The village has what they call a weak mayor form of government with 4 other trustees.
Okay.
So that's part-time as well.
So what are you running for?
So I'm running for mayor of the village of Ossining.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification because I had no idea. Shout out to Sean Patterson Howard, who has just joined. Lorraine, would you like to kick off the questions? Yes, no?
No, go ahead. Go
Oh.
ahead. I'll follow your lead.
So tell us about, well, how long have you been on, what's it, the council,
Trustee.
the what's the council called in Austin, in the towns?
The village
Trust-
board is fine.
Okay. How long have you been on the village board?
So this is actually my second time having the honor to be elected. So I was first elected in 2014 as
Okay.
a trustee, and then appointed as deputy mayor that year.
Okay.
Then I had the opportunity to serve at a bigger level at the state, working on poverty alleviation with the Cuomo administration. Then I transitioned out of that, took a year off. I mean, all of you here know that being in politics can burn you out.
Absolutely.
So, my work was still not done in Ossining. I was born and raised there. I walk it every day. And, I was like, you know what? I want a chance to finish what we started. So I had the good opportunity to get back on the board this past year.
Wow.
And I started on January 1st.
Of this
Okay.
past year. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things I realize in Westchester is a lot of people in cities, especially I realize, see this in Mount Vernon, but a lot of the cities, they don't really leave the city often, so they don't know about other parts of Westchester. So what is the racial makeup of Ossining?
Okay, yeah, so one of the main reasons why I think the majority of people who leave Ossining, they come back, and one of the main reasons why I chose to come back after college is Ossining, for a village and a town, is probably one of the most diverse communities left in Westchester. Currently, I would say, and don't quote me on these stats, but you're looking at like 50% Latino.
Okay.
And then you're probably looking at, the rest being a mix of Caucasian and Black. We used to have a prominent African American, community in Ossining, and through, which hopefully we'll discuss later, through gentrification and changing who we are and what we're doing, unfortunately, we've seen a decline in people, move. So right now, I would say it's mainly Latino, followed by Caucasian, Black, and we also have a big Portuguese and Filipino community.
Okay. Now, have there been any other Latino mayors before you, or your election would actually be a history making? You're the first.
So officially, mine would be history because the first one that they had, he's actually a friend of mine and a supporter and a great leader, Miguel Hernandez. He was
Okay.
the first appointed Puerto Rican mayor that had to step in, but this would be the first elected.
Elected.
Yeah.
Okay.
And why do you want to run for election? Why do you want to be mayor?
So I want to be mayor because I know that that Ossining is no, I can make that crystal clear.
No.
That Ossining is not being equitably represented in their government. That it matters who you are, and that also impacts and determines how you're treated, how you're enforced, what access you have, what opportunity. And with the population that has such a big minority community and challenges that we have, you're not seeing those populations of residents have a seat at our table. And I see it and I live it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Bob, any questions? I know you always.
So tell us. I'm sorry, Omar. So tell us, Omar, you're now in your second term as a trustee.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the highlights of your first term? What were some of your major accomplishments, and how do you intend to build upon those if you succeed in being elected to the mayorship?
So,
I'll pull your mic a little bit closer.
sorry about
No,
that.
you
Is
just
it
pull
better?
Yeah, you can just pull
All
it. It comes to you.
cool. So, having a second chance to come back into politics, I had to make it very clear to myself and to my constituents and my colleagues that I'm going to be true to my principles. I'm not going to filter myself, and I'm not going to be drinking the Kool-Aid of being told what to say, what not to say, who to follow. So I started off by making sure that we showed everyone why we operate the way we do. So when it comes to our departments, our budget, what is our role? What isn't our role? You'd be so surprised. And this is not, the majority of residents don't understand what the government does, but it impacts them every day.
Right.
So, so that's kind of what I've been trying to do. Something very small that was passed. It was very controversial, but I don't know why. I'm 28 years old, and I've always been told, and my friends also, whether we're interning for an elected or whether you're doing a protest or something that you care about, or that you're too young, or that's cute, or we're always preaching that we love our youth. We love our youth. Our youth's our future. But how does that reflect as far as policy, as far as budget, as far as to even have a seat at the table? So I said, why don't we have an internship program that actually gives students from middle school and high school and above a chance to actually experience it for themselves? I didn't think that such thing would cause 3 months of contention.
Wow.
But we can't say that we want to empower young people if we don't actually give them the opportunity to experience, to question, to see the inside workings of government. And I'm happy to say that was actually approved. So this fall, hopefully I'll get some applicants and we can get some people in there to really have a chance. But, the politics in Ossining is none other different than what you see in cities like Yonkers, Mount Vernon. There is a political machine. Myself and my colleague, Trustee Bazemore, have been called that we're too outspoken, we ask too many questions, we're divisive, and we're dividing the community.
Wow.
That's kind of, what I've been told. First of all, you can't say that we're divided until we have a real discussion about what... You can't say, rewind. You can't say that we're united until we have a real discussion about what divides us.
Absolutely.
And in Ossining, I'm sorry to say, yeah, we're diverse. In everything that you do, you'll read it or you'll see it. The diversity is our strength. Ossining is diverse. We have 49% of our population that speaks a language other than English, and we're still having a conversation as whether or not we need a translator at a public meeting.
Wow.
We're still having a conversation as to, wait, those people care?
Wow.
You're having people now at meetings. We talk about housing and equity. Those. So that right there is showing you the mentality of some of our residents and businesses and leaders in our community, right? So if you really want, I'm really big on equity. That's kind of what got me into government. My father is a union porter who retired, and my mom is still a housekeeper at a nursing home in Ossining. I was blessed enough to grow up. I had a job at McDonald's at 14, and I've been very blessed to work my way up and earn what I have. So my understanding about coming from an immigrant family, but actually knowing what struggle looks like, knowing what hard work actually looks like, knowing what is a little different. And unfortunately, and I use a metaphor with my glasses, that I thought I was nuts because I could walk down the street and identify, there's a lot of homeless people on this corner, or they're having, and I bring it up and everyone acts like it doesn't exist. So right now we could literally have a plant in front of us and all three of you will say, I don't see it.
Wow.
So
That's countywide too.
yes, agreed.
Yeah, yes.
So,
Westchester being one of the wealthiest counties, they do not like to admit that there is poverty or homelessness.
yeah, so half of our school district, just to let you know, is on free or reduced lunch, and over 40% of Ossining kids are deemed low income or impoverished. So these are stats that you don't hear a lot, because I get it, they're not sexy, and we want to be the Ossining on the Hudson where you can get $9 coffees. And by the way, I'm not against having a mix of people, and that's part of who we are. But Ossining has always been the place where you got the richest of the rich, you got the poorest of the poor, you got the middle, you got the in between, but you always had a place to stay. And the issue and the challenge right now is that Ossining is changing, but for who? You have people that are being pushed out. You have firefighters, home healthcare workers, bus monitors, teachers, our police officers that can't even rent there.
Right.
And
so there's gentrification going on over there too in the waterfront.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
I mean, it looks great, but you're talking about $2,100 for a studio.
Yeah.
And then our affordable housing program you have to, it's based off of 80% average median income of the county, which is like over $120,000. So Austin residents make average $62,000 or less, but you're basing off the affordable housing units off of 120, right? 80% of 120. So even me, right, a person who finished college a couple years ago, let's say I get an entry-level job, which in communications is like $40,000 when you first start, right, or 50 if you're lucky. I can't even a professional can't even afford the affordable housing units. So that means that you have a system that has affordable housing, but not for the people that live there.
Yes, that definitely rings true. One of the things
people don't want to hear you say that.
One of the things our host who's not here, Damon K. Jones, he works corrections, and his wife is a Mount Vernon police detective, and they both together their salaries. It makes them hard to survive in Mount Vernon. They just moved and bought a house in Middletown. Like they, just so they can have property, and own something. It's hard, and they're two professionals. You know what I'm saying? With two decent.
But that's what
salary,
I mean.
And they, I won't say they're struggling by any means, but it's hard to even for them. They're, So I definitely understand what you're saying. We see that every day here. Go ahead, you about to say something?
Yeah, I have a question, perhaps comment. But before we do so, I want to firstly just give a shout out. Welcome to Sean Patterson Howard, and also to County Legislator
Lyndon
Williams. Yeah, and actually,
go
on.
And D Love, CEO and founder of Diamonds in the Rough Artist Management, she's tuned in.
Okay.
Yes.
D Love. Now the reason why I mention it is because just this past week, while perusing Facebook, I happened to see a comment by County Legislator Williams, who I certainly respect and admire. I think he's, good guy, decent guy. He's doing his job.
Absolutely.
But he wrote about his support for transportation oriented housing redevelopment. And I mean, it seems to me like this is a very common this is the policy consensus in Westchester County, that what we need to do in order to turn our municipalities around is build affordable, well, I don't even want to say affordable, market rate housing for young professionals who are employed down in the city. And what it sounds to me that you're suggesting, and sort of comports with my own experience, is that this kind of transportation-led redevelopment is really missing out on large swaths of the population that are in need, are full-time, fully employed, have college degrees, so meet our kind of conventional definition of a young professional, and yet are not bringing in the salaries that would allow them to be able to afford a $2,100 a month unit. It's crazy. So I'm glad to hear that there's someone raising some alternatives as to our housing policy. And I want to hear you say more, because I noticed you have listed as one of the major planks on your platform that you are looking for some sort of alternative approach to housing. And I wanted to hear you say a little bit more about what you think that alternative might look like. What are we going to have to do as a county in order to make sure that young professionals can afford housing that allows them to stay here?
Well, I mean, I can't speak on behalf of the county. I can just speak as a young professional and elected leader who lives in the county and is an Austin. But one of the biggest, I would say the biggest issue in the whole campaign that has a community in arms right now is the discussion about affordable housing, the terminology low-income housing, market rate housing. And the reality is there has to be a happy medium between attracting people yet retaining your own residents as well, right? So because I'm not against mixed use, right? So
right.
We need a tax base, right? We need different types of options. We need mixed use buildings, right? So the issue though is when you're building all the same type of housing. So in Austin, we've had an influx of new development over the years. It's all been high-end luxury housing, right? And a lot of them actually have they're not even full, The biggest one recently, Harbor Square, has like a 10-year tax pilot on it, so they're not even paying taxes. So it's having the discussion that, yes, I was told at a meeting that, Omar, the difference between me and you as a leader and a Democrat is that you believe that people have the right to stay here. And I believe that if you can't afford to live here, you should go.
Ooh.
And the other end, and in Mount Vernon, we live on the other end of that. When they get ran out of Ossining, they get sent to Mount Vernon or Yonkers, and we're the dumping grounds of where other places in the county don't want people that can't afford.
Well, that's not okay either. But
yeah. So we receive all those that are not welcomed otherwhere.
It just hurts me that we're losing people.
Yeah.
People that have grown up, that had all their families and legacies there. But back to your question, if you guys just Google Ossining right now, what you're going to see statewide is that there's a huge fight for the push of ETPA, Emergency Tenant Protection Act, which is a New York State rent stabilization program that would basically require 2-year leases, provide protection between landlord retaliation and evictions, an actual legal process, and then 3, it would have a part of rent regulation that dictates how much the rent will go up every year, and that's done through the Westchester County Rent Guidelines Board. This is the second time around that the proposal has come. The first time I wasn't on the board. It was actually spearheaded by my colleague, Quantel Bazemore, and I'm glad I went to the public hearing because that was the first time in public that I saw a room full of our neediest and struggling residents, but then you saw a whole side of real estate lobbyists, property owners, corporate managers, and huge contention. The Builders and Realtors Institute sent a glossy mailer saying that your taxes are going to go up by $2 million. They're trying to build more low-income housing for you to subsidize. I mean, all that, all the rhetoric that we always hear, right?
Yeah.
When the reality is far from the truth. You had a group that was organizing itself and mobilizing people that normally aren't mobilized, okay? And they were advocating why they need it. I could show to you a whole stack of cases of either evictions, unjust evictions, financial hardship, landlord-tenant retaliation for being an advocate for ETPA, and the list goes on. And I'm not saying that I do understand there are good and bad tenants, and there are good and bad landlords, but this isn't about that. This is about having an Ossining for the first time, having a program in Ossining for the first time in over 50 years that has the potential of keeping 1,200 families in Ossining. And no affordable housing program in Ossining has done that or come close to doing that. And right now, we had to bring it back because I was the third person that they needed to bring it back. Because last time, the whole process went through, you get a vacancy study, and you see what is the percentage of vacancy in buildings that are built before 1974, because that's what's covered in the program. And if you have a vacancy rate below 5%, you can declare a housing emergency. So they did the whole process, they did the public hearings. Guess what? It was an election year, so it was tabled. When you table a program like that, the data is no longer relevant. So it goes away. And it was never brought up again. So by me coming in again, it kind of forced now us having the majority to have a discussion about it again. So we had to pay for the study again. Another glossy mailer came out that, you can imagine, that we're ruining Ossining and we're not homeowners, and I'm a renter, so that according to some people, I'm not a taxpayer because I'm a renter.
Yes.
Which is not true, by the way. Renters are taxpayers.
Right.
And what you have seen is that now the community, because of the opposition of our plan for equitable housing, because ETPA already works in 19 other Westchester communities. Fine. This is a no-brainer. Okay? This should not be so so difficult for us to do, because then we could actually go on to what type of housing do we need. Right now the board's discussing, Ossining has a 10% set aside for new development. So if you're a developer, you have to build 10% of affordable housing units. So we're having a discussion of, hey, should it be raised to 15%? Should it be raised to 20%? What incentives are we going to give them? Like, these are conversations that you want to have. But they're saying that ETPA is going to paralyze Austin's ability to move forward. And, I firmly believe that I lost the original endorsement from the Democratic Party because of my support for ETPA. And I know that because I asked for the people that voted for or against me. And the majority of the people that are lobbying against ETPA are actually those people as well. So it's funny because I go to surrounding communities and they go, oh yeah, we heard what's going on in Osing Sing, because they don't say Ossining, they say Osing Sing, because who knows Ossining, right? It's that small little town.
Right.
We're known for we're known for Sing Sing prison, right? So and they said, hey, you must have like a big Trump base there, or like a lot of Republicans there. All these people fighting against ETPA, and I'm like, no, it's the majority are all Democrats. And
I was going to ask you to break down the party, the structure,
Yeah.
up there. So it's a Democratic heavy.
It is very Democratic heavy. So I would say the majority are Democrats, and then you have a decent amount of independents, unaffiliated, and then you have a very small amount of Republicans and conservatives. So it's funny that we're having this this conversation, but now the vacancy study came back, and we do qualify to declare a housing emergency. So pay very close attention to what happens going forward through the media, through different communities, because they're framing this as outside people trying to dictate Ossining policy. There's a group that's part of this, it's Community Voices Heard, which mobilizes their own residents to organize what they want to organize for, and it empowers them to actually fight for what they want to fight for. And they're being smeared by elected officials, by groups, discredited. Some people have even tried to unfund them in Ossining. What you're seeing is just phenomenal. And these are groups that otherwise would have not been reached out to by the current establishment, that live in Ossining, that grew up in Ossining, that businesses in Ossining. So this is, this is much more than just a discussion about rent stabilization or not.
Yeah, Community Voices Heard. I'm big supporters of a lot of stuff they do. They did a big thing on the poverty study. Juanita Lewis, she's sometimes a guest co-host on the show, and I've covered a lot of this stuff that they've done. They actually do good work. Lorraine, I know you have a question over here.
My question were of the 50% of the Hispanics that are in Ossining, how many are undocumented, and what's the situation going on with ICE? Because I've been hearing a lot about that.
Yeah. So I would say out of the 50%, probably, and this is, it's just a guesstimate, I would say probably 35% are undocumented. Ossining has a very big population of undocumented residents. We made national news when they pulled a kid out of their home before prom, Diego Puma, and then recently, just last week, we had an ICE raid.
Yes.
Where they took the wrong person, and allegedly they battered the wife that was there, and there's a lot of different stories, right? But this is what I'm talking about. Ossining is, first of all, let me make one thing very clear. So Ossining is a community of immigrants and built by immigrants. Okay, that's our story. That's why on a Sunday, you can go to church in Spanish, Filipino, Italian, Portuguese. I'm missing one. In English, right? The fifth one, right? English. And I just did a whole statement about what happened about ICE because they organized themselves, and supporters came, and the family came in front of Village Hall last week in solidarity that we're not going to be scared, but we need to stand up and resist. I was the only elected official there, and my job, right, is to assure that that they're safe. My job is to assure that we work together. But they came to our meeting that night. We had a village board meeting, and we encouraged them to come to the village board meeting, to the public comment section, tell us your concerns, show to everyone that how you feel. And this is an issue that was brought up last time. Ossining, like many communities, passed a resolution that basically says we're for everyone, we're not ICE, we're not going to do the work of ICE, we're not going to do the enforcement, we're not going to question you. But Ossining had a different approach, which at the time I respected because it kind of made sense. The police chief, which is great, they had great officers, but this was an approach that was a little different. He made a advisory request to ICE that they call the police department to let them know that they're coming in, for he could know what's going on in his community, in our community, which is totally fine. Part B to that is that he wanted and has sent a card to escort ICE to the place and to be there while the person or persons are being questioned and or detained. So, this is where my issue starts. What is the role of our officers and what is the procedure once they get there? So I was told, Omar, it's to assure the safety and well-being of everyone there that's being questioned or detained. And I said, cool, I get that. That's fine. And they're going to feel pretty good that officers that they know are there. So, fine. I said, what is the step-by-step procedure as to what do you do? So if I go to your home, right, I'm a nice agent, and you're an Ossining police officer, you're outside standing in front of your car, and I'm questioning you or about to arrest you. At what point, or what is his role, at what point does he interfere? At what point does he protect you if he feels like he has to protect you? At what point do you call him? Do they go to the door with ICE? I can go on with questions, and we were told we're not going to go into procedure. So again, we had 80 people at a meeting that were very scared and very upset. A lot of them did not go to work, did not go to camp, they closed businesses. And I spoke Spanish, which I'm going to get into in a second, if I may. But they said that they still didn't understand what our police's role was. And what I said was, I'm a trustee and a police commissioner, and I still don't understand what your procedure is. So I wrote this whole op-ed, it was in the paper, in the blog, and till this day I haven't even received a response, right? So now I have to be more aggressive, right? This is not an attack against our board or against our police. We need to do a better job at communicating how we operate and why we operate the way we do when it comes to ICE and using our officers. I need to know the procedure. You can't look at everyone in their face and say, we got you, trust us, if they don't even understand what your role is when you come.
And if you decide to run because you're afraid of ICE, who's going to catch you? The police?
We don't know, right? Because we're not going into procedure. And I'm someone, and if law enforcement disagrees with me, I'm sorry, because I'm all about understanding procedure, and the public needs to understand your procedure and why it is the way it is.
Wait. So I just want to be clear. Who was not explaining the procedure to you? The police commissioner?
Yeah, well,
or
police commissioners, our police chief.
Our police chief, okay.
And unfortunately, this is not an attack towards him. We have a great department, but we're not communicating ourselves effectively. And if I don't even get it, I know that they don't get it. So hopefully, maybe they're working on a response. I have called for the Board of Police Commissioners to meet, which, by the way, never meets, which is a whole different conversation. I don't understand why they don't ever meet. I'm not saying, right? I mean, that's kind of weird, right? You have a Board of Police Commissioners that only meets when they hire a chief once every 25 years.
Wow.
So I said, hey, I'm not a cop. I'm not in law enforcement. We have the platform where you can educate us and we can go through it together in a public setting why your procedure is what it is and what's the best way to communicate that to people and to share with people. I mean, that's how government is supposed to work.
Yeah.
Not in closed doors, not in closed books, and it's never acceptable for anyone to say, we're not going to go into that.
Wow.
I went up real quick. How do people, when they learn more about you, social media, website, et cetera, et cetera?
So I'm pretty big on social media. You can add me on Facebook. It's Omar Herrera for Ossining Mayor. I also have my governmental page, which is Ossining Trustee Omar Herrera. I have a bilingual website, which is www.omarjherrera, that's OMARJHERRERA.com. I'm the only candidate in this race that's actually outlined why I'm running and what my issues are. And
you have a primary, correct?
yes, my primary is in 2 weeks, Thursday, September 13th. And, at that meeting, where I was trying to explain and kind of console very hurting people that were unsure about walking in the street. They didn't even want to walk into the courtroom.
Yeah.
Their courtroom. They own the courtroom, right? Our residents own, right? So, I got spoken to on camera by my colleague that said, am I going to translate what I said because it's not fair that people don't understand? So I kind of wanted to say, but I didn't want to be divisive in a room where people were already upset and make it political. But now you understand how the majority of Ossining residents feel every day when they don't, when they don't understand. I got a couple of, hate mail on my village email about how, and a whole Facebook thread, every town has their controversial groups on Facebook.
Yes.
Asking me not to ever speak Spanish in a governmental meeting. The standard, U.S. language is English, and that, et cetera,
Wow.
et cetera, et cetera. So, obviously, the campaign is rattling feathers and has people feeling some type of way. But that's the reality of the types of people and groups and issues that we're facing today. The big thing that I've been kind of seeing the past 2 weeks is that, Omar's campaign is dividing the community. Are we dividing it because it's the first campaign in 30 years to challenge the institution, and also the first campaign that's specifically reaching out to people that aren't reached out to, mainly the Black community, the Spanish community, and groups that you have to, and talking about issues that you have to strategically make sure aren't discussed in public? I understand why we're making, this campaign is purposely making people feel uncomfortable because we have to talk about it in an open setting. And by the way, I'm not perfect. I'm not going to solve everything, but it has to be done together, and people have to be part of the process from the very beginning. Not, hey Lorraine, I have a plan for housing. I want your input. How do I want your input if I already made the plan for you? Right. That's what I mean by the initial start. And it's time. And now, as a Cuban and Nicaraguan guy, I'm gonna go ahead and say it because race out of nowhere is now playing a big role in this in this campaign. It's time that minority communities stop accepting other people's planning for how they should live their lives or develop policy for their communities, or understand that. This is not in a way to divide, but we have enough in each community to speak up for themselves. Why aren't they at the table?
Yeah.
CVH, they sent a group of moms and pastors and priests and kids to the mayor's home because she wouldn't take a position on ETPA the first round. They were greeted with cops and yelling. She wouldn't even take their letter, because she felt bullied by kids and moms. And
they did the same thing in Chappaqua too.
yeah.
They weren't very successful.
Whereas, if you come to my home, whether I agree or not, I'm going to offer you water, coffee, or cookies first. I'm not going to greet you with cops and yell at you. People are going to find a way for you to respond or to get your attention one way or another. They went to office hours. They went to the public hearing. They went to the board meeting. They did the email. They did the petition. They did the... If you ignore them, every method that they try, they're going to find a way to get your attention. And guess what? She responded the next day. Right? So it worked. Aggressive, I know, but necessary. We need to kind of change that operation, that we don't always have to be so reactive. And this whole notion that you could stop listening when you're in office, even me, if I don't agree with you, I don't have the ability or authority or choice to say that I'm going to stop listening to you. I work for you. I represent everyone. You know, you don't ever lose your seat at the table, ever. And right now, it's been made very clear that if you do not agree, you will not have a seat at that table. So
one of the things that the Trump administration, there's people don't understand we the people. The definition of we the people. There's people that don't feel that we are we the people. You understand what I'm saying? And we the people is all of us.
Literally, like
yeah. Lyndon Williams, county legislator Lyndon Williams said Omar is an intelligent young man, and he represents his constituents well.
I could say ditto to him as well.
Okay.
I know Lyndon,
in most instances.
Well, I know Lyndon, as I used to work with county board of legislators, and he's always a person who's not scared to address issues and talk them out, but actually, at the end of it, focus on solutions. So that's kind of all I can say when it comes to that. Thank you, Lyndon. Appreciate it. I just wanted to say, though, that this is about, and this is where I'm getting in trouble, right? Omar, you're too young. It's not your turn. You don't know enough. I mean, all the stuff that you hear all the time. There will never be a good time for activists and advocates, all four of us in this room, to run for office. There will never be a good time for me to run for office, ever, right? Because we don't fit the mold.
They don't want activists.
Yeah, we don't fit the mold.
Yeah.
And the nonsense that I'm not going to go into, because I think all of you guys know the nonsense that goes on when it comes to petitioning and electing people, is phenomenal. And Austin has 30,000 people, has about 12,000 voters, and the challenge of this campaign is, win or lose, even though I hope we win, is starting to mobilize people that you will never have an uncontested race in Austin ever again for any role. How it's been. Right? Giving people a choice.
Expanding the voting pool.
When I'm up for trustee next year, win or lose, you should pull me aside wherever I am. Omar, hey, listen, so, yeah, you're nice, whatever. What have you produced? What have you done? If you went away tomorrow, would I be impacted? Would I know? Would I be affected? And I said that, and they spazzed out. And I was like, yeah, I'm asking people to rate us. And I'm asking us, including myself, to respond. You have people that have been in office for years. That's fine. But you have to show what you do. How do you produce?
Do y'all have term limits?
No.
Uh-huh.
We don't have term limits.
That's another ugly word in local politics, term limits.
In certain areas, yeah.
Yeah. They don't want you. So now, I know we're coming to the close of the show. And we talked about several topics. I wanted to ask you, is there anything we didn't ask you, or is there anything that you want to get across, your agenda, your whatever, that you want to share with anyone listening?
Sure. Even though Austining's a village with only 30,000 people on the Hudson River, and I love the title of the show, People for Politics. All politics is local, and all politics starts local. And if it can't work at the local level, it's not going to work as you go up. And the nonsense that you see in the federal government that stops actual change and does a disservice to the people it's supposed to represent is happening at the local level. Okay? And people are so preoccupied getting by and making it day by day and paying their rent and working 3 jobs, or like me, paying an arm and a leg on student loans, or whatever it is, that they don't have time to kind of, know what's going on, right? we've developed a society of people to be on survival, so they don't have time to ask the questions or get involved, right? So I want people to know that any Democrat just won't do. That the values of equity and inclusion and literally, like what I say here in Ossining for All, what do we mean by that? In Mount Vernon, when you say I'm Mount Vernon for all, is that so? Is that so?
You see me and AJ looking rather.
Mount Vernon for all my people.
And now you have a culture. You should ask yourself why there's so many people, county, state, and in Ossining. By the way, all that are in power or in influence, why are they involved in a trustee race of a small village in Westchester? Because this is much bigger than that. This could change who's a representative in Congress in 10 years, in county in 10 years, state senate in 10 years, right? Because we elect these people for our districts. Right. So if this starts happening in every community, they're in trouble, right? Because now they got to change how they operate. They can no longer have 40 people in a room making the decision for 30,000 people. So what I need in this campaign that I want people to know is that I am Ossining, born and bred. I've seen it as a business owner. I've seen it as an activist. I've seen it as an advocate. I've seen it as a resident. I've seen it as a volunteer firefighter. I've seen it as a volunteer. I've seen it in all the different perspectives. And that kind of gives me assurance that I'm not crazy. Because I see and I talk to all the constituencies all the time, every day. I don't just go to them on election day. I don't just visit the church a month before the vote. I do life with them. We do life together, right? And this notion that once you disagree or once you bring up touchy subjects that you're dividing the community is nonsense. And when you keep saying and you keep focusing on age and division, Ossining has a whole list of issues that we could discuss. Why are none being discussed? Why is only my age being discussed? Why is only ETPA being discussed? Right? So in this race, I need people who think that local government's the only level of government that impacts your everyday life. The water you drink is up to us, right? Your police officers, your fire, your EMS, your roads, your sidewalks, your quality of life, that's all done at the local level. So,
absolutely.
So if anything, I understand the mindset that it doesn't matter if I vote in the federal government, a mindset that we got to change, by the way. But locally, no, your vote literally matters.
Absolutely. I want to thank you for coming to the show. I want to invite you after the primary, if you survive the primary, to come back if you want.
So if we don't,
you'll still be running. You'll still be on.
Working Families Party.
Right, and I saw that on your website. Shout to you have the endorsement of the Lower Hudson Valley Progressive Action Network.
Yes, and Citizens Action, which just came out on Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to invite you back, to talk. And I would like to discuss more Ossining issues. And anytime you would like to, pen an op-ed or whatever for Black Westchester about what's going on in Ossining, you're welcome to.
That'd be great. Thank you. I will definitely, be in touch.
Yes.
Right. Now, I just wanted to, we talked about everything going on. We talked about everything. I would be remiss if I did not take a moment and pause for Lewis Big Lou Ellis, a Mount Vernon legend that we just lost. They're having a celebration of his life this Thursday, August 30th, 4 to 8 p.m. at Macedonia Baptist Church. That's the wake, and the service is Friday, August 31st at 11 a.m. also at Macedonia Baptist Church. And for all of y'all who are hip-hop heads, Big Lou was prominently featured in the Pete Rock CL Smooth song and video, They Reminisce Over You. A lot of us know Bob, A lot of us know Big Lou has chased us from in front of his store when we was not acting right.
Okay, I don't recall.
Yeah. A lot of us know Big Lou did not play, and he was definitely a legend, a Mount Vernon legend that we lost, and well known, well respected, well loved, and my condolences to his family. And I do want to, I'm trying to preserve a space in Black Westchester in this issue to definitely do something on him. And if I don't get it in the September issue, even though it will have passed, I will definitely be doing something bigger in the October issue and on the website. Rest in peace, Big Lou. So I just wanted to get that in. Shout to everybody who tuned in. Jesse, I only got like 2 minutes. Unless you got 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
I wanted to also extend condolences and RIP to my man.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Rock.
Yes. My bad.
Lateef is going to tell us y'all know Rock's formal name, but Rock also.
Walter Clark.
Yes. Rock was also Rock Bottom, also known as Rock Bottom.
Yes.
Was an integral part of that period of Mount Vernon history. And he will be sorely missed, as will Big Lou, and so I extend my condolences.
Absolutely, my bad for not bringing that. Shout out to Cheryl, who
for
sent
reminding
me,
us. Yes,
who sent me the Big Lou flyer. She said, "Sorry to bother you, no bother," because I definitely I forgot to mention him. Shout out to Jesse Van Loo, who was very instrumental, and I didn't mention him at the rally, who helped put together the rally, spoke very passionate at the rally. Lowe's Moore is on the is tuned in. Don Figure said, much love to the show. Keep doing what you're doing. We need real news. Who else is Nesto? DJ Nesto from Virginia. Michelle Breeze Johnson, Janelle Britton. We said Lyndon. I'm trying to see if I missed anybody else's names. If I did, I apologize. Thank you all for tuning in. Adrian Van Loo, I'm assuming, is related to Jesse. You were going to say something?
I wasn't sure if you mentioned where the wake service for Big Lou is being.
Yes, both the wake is on the 30th and the funeral is the 31st, and they're both at Macedonia Baptist Church.
And the wake is starting at 4 p.m. and runs
4 to 8 is the wake, and 11 a.m. is the funeral
service
on the 31st. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank our guests from traveling from Ossining. I know this a crazy time. You're knocking on doors, and you have to take time from doing that to come on the show, and I definitely appreciate that for sharing with our audience and letting our audience get to know you. And I hope this is not the last time we see you. And again, I mean what I said about the op-ed. We're trying to cover more of Westchester. I'm not in Ossining often,
well,
so you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you definitely always welcome to, especially the issues you talked about. You want to get the word out around the county. You definitely can do that. Thank Lorraine Lopez for being here. Thanks, Dr. Bob for being here. Shout out to Damon K. Jones. And thank you all for listening. You could all be doing something else besides checking out the show, but you decided to rock with us, and we greatly appreciate it. This is Black Westchester's People Before Politics, every Sunday 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com. Until next week, peace.
22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism, We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.